Historians may debate the specifics, but the fall of the Western Roman Empire undeniably altered the course of Mediterranean history, regardless of whether the subsequent era should be labeled the Dark Ages. In this video, we will focus on the changes brought about by the collapse of the Western Roman Empire, rather than discussing the merits of the term Dark Ages. During the Roman Empire, the Mediterranean region experienced significant social and economic advancements. The Romans established the rule of law, and social life flourished in their empire, with towns featuring palaces, public squares, theaters, temples, markets, baths, and aqueducts. Although Roman society was predominantly aristocratic, citizens could rise through merit, fortune, or public service. A substantial middle class of small landowners, merchants, and artisans helped maintain social stability. By the 5th century, slavery had largely diminished, replaced by free artisans and rural laborers who enjoyed personal freedom and stability. Despite challenges in previous centuries, the Roman Empire was more prosperous than most regions worldwide. However, this period also marked the beginning of migrations and invasions by Germanic tribes. In the first half of the 5th century, many of these tribes settled within the Western Roman Empire. While Italy's sophisticated society remained intact, the northern borders faced significant pressures. In Gaul, Roman senators symbolized legitimacy, but over time they lost power to the Germanic invaders, leading to the establishment of Germanic kingdoms. The Roman aristocracy retreated from urban centers to their estates, fortifying their homes against what they perceived as barbarian threats. The Western Empire ultimately fell in 476 when a Germanic confederation led by Odoacer deposed the last Roman emperor and established the Kingdom of Italy. Odoacer's reign was short-lived. 2 decades later, he was assassinated by Theodoric the Great, who incorporated his realm into the Ostrogothic kingdom. Theodoric respected Roman customs and continued to support public works and economic activities while seeking the Senate's backing for legitimacy. He also settled his people away from major Roman centers, allowing local collaborators to govern. However, towards the end of his rule, he enacted harsh measures against Romans driven by succession fears, though he managed to preserve Roman heritage until the Lombards' invasion in 568. Similar strategies were employed by other Germanic kingdoms to secure Roman obedience. Germanic rulers presented themselves as defenders of Rome, adopting titles like Magister Militum, Consul, or Patrician, and utilized the existing bureaucratic framework to gain support from the Roman aristocracy and church. After a century, coinciding with the Lombards' arrival, these rulers felt confident enough to abandon their pretense, leading to the decline of Roman institutions. The collapse of Roman administration resulted in chaos and a resurgence of anarchy throughout the Mediterranean. The Catholic Church emerged as the only intact institution from the fall of the Western Roman Empire, safeguarding the legacy of Roman civilization. The Roman aristocracy relied on episcopal elections to maintain their traditional leadership and cultural customs. Together, they preserved Latin learning, the art of writing, and a centralized administration through a network of bishops. Despite these efforts, the old Roman middle class suffered greatly. Barbarians altered laws in their favor, leading to significant land seizures. The Visigoths and Burgundians, for instance, legally appropriated 2/3 of Roman property, while in Italy, they seized 1/3. This drastic transfer of property created a new aristocracy, blending Roman and Germanic elements, while diminishing the ranks of small landholders and the Roman middle class. The Germanic elite formed an oligarchy of war chiefs, further oppressing the vulnerable and exacerbating inequality. Even free Romans lost personal liberties and were often reduced to servitude, leading to a resurgence of slavery. Germanic criminal codes imposed harsh punishments for minor offenses, further deteriorating life in the Mediterranean. Roman villas were plundered, and many temples and monasteries were destroyed. The Germanic invaders met little resistance, as the local populace recognized the futility of opposing them. Once the Germanic tribes settled in the 6th century, violence continued through their internal conflicts. resulting in economic decline. Industrial labor became scarce, livestock populations dwindled, and agricultural production faltered, leading to famine and epidemics. Many regions were left abandoned, with Narbonne, once prosperous, reduced to ruins. Surviving farmers sought refuge on large estates, protected by ditches and palisades, leading to localized and primitive economies. Urban trade dwindled to basic food exchanges, and bartering replaced currency as money became scarce and credit vanished. Infrastructure deteriorated, making travel perilous, while maritime trade suffered as ports fell into disrepair, shipbuilding declined, and piracy flourished. The plight of cities was dire. Many became ghost towns, with crumbling buildings and overgrown gardens. Artisans and merchants faced destitution, worsening the commercial landscape. During Emperor Justinian's campaign to reconquer Italy from 535 to 554, Rome endured 3 sieges, suffering extensive damage. Ancient statues were destroyed, parts of the Aurelian Wall were dismantled, and entire neighborhoods were set ablaze as control shifted between the Byzantines and the Ostrogoths. By the end of this period, Rome's population had plummeted to around 30,000. The Lombard invasion further devastated the city, leading to widespread destruction of the countryside, aqueducts, churches, and sacred relics. The remaining population faced fires, shortages of food and water, and plagues. By the end of the 6th century, Rome was a desolate shadow of its former self, with crumbling buildings, dilapidated aqueducts, and rampant starvation. The Eastern Roman Empire, or Byzantine Empire, seemed poised for a similar fate during the 5th century. Weak leadership from the Theodosian house, invasions by the Huns and Ostrogoths, and rising religious dissent threatened Constantinople. However, the Eastern Empire's strong military organization allowed it to endure until the reigns of Justinian and Heraclius, who welcomed some invaders as foederati and repelled others. The Byzantine Empire emerged as a resilient society. Under Justinian, the Italian peninsula and Africa were reconquered, although the Eastern Empire still faced invasions from Slavic and Germanic tribes, culminating in the arrival of the Bulgars. Diseases like dysentery, typhus, and the bubonic plague during Justinian's reign decimated the population, causing millions of deaths and catastrophic effects on urban and economic life. Nevertheless, the Byzantines managed to repel invaders and assimilate some settled barbarians, avoiding the anarchy that plagued the West. A new Hellenic state emerged, rooted in Roman political and religious traditions. Restoration and economic development flourished, aided by effective agricultural practices that revitalized rural areas. To combat land abandonment, emperors decreed that landowners must cultivate their properties or forfeit them. By the 7th century, laws mandated that arable land be taxed, leading to increased cultivation. The Byzantine economy experienced a renaissance, with thriving fisheries, prosperous livestock farming, and rich granaries and orchards. Private property gained importance, while the urban economy remained intact and even expanded, with industries centered in towns and rural workshops producing luxury goods. Politically, Byzantine society evolved, particularly under Justinian's administration. In celebration of military successes, a new code of Roman law was issued. Justinian's legislative efforts, grounded in a vision of a universal empire as a reflection of God's heavenly kingdom, led to an era of prosperity. His ambitious building projects, including the magnificent church of Hagia Sophia, symbolized this renewal. For the next century, the Byzantine Empire remained rich and powerful, with significant improvements in economic conditions across its territories, except for Italy. Justinian's reign marked a new beginning for the Roman Empire, restoring its former glory and contributing to its survival for centuries to come. We will continue to explore Roman history in future videos, so be sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon to stay updated. Your likes, comments, and shares are greatly appreciated and help us immensely.